Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first podcast of Johnny Longballs, aka Jonathan Kessler, or Johnny K, and my cousin, the hardworking Coffee and Chronic, Jared Shaw.
Always working, never sleeping.
There we go. And the name of this show, which we decided, is going to be called Put Me In, Coach. There's no music. Where's the music? All right. So unfortunately, Coffee and Chronic was supposed to play the music, so he's just dancing around.
We're gonna get sued by John Fogerty, cuz.
All right. So enough with the antics. So our podcast is basically talking sports, local New York sports, with a little mix of gambling. As you can see, a little weed, a little bit of food and wine talk, whatever topic we want to discuss.
It's a lifestyle.
Exactly. So today's topic is going to be about the New York Football Giants, a disgrace of a franchise they have become. And my first topic of question to Coffee is coffee. As you saw in the papers today and read all over social media, the Giants have decided to retain their general manager, Joe Schoen, and their play caller and head coach, Brian Daboll. Now, let's be honest. 3 years ago, a lot of New York fans like myself and you who have been diehard since the day we were born have been Giant fans. And we were excited about this move, getting a team from guys who were successful at Buffalo, who had made the AFC Championship, and were told he was a quarterback whisperer. Now let's fast forward now to 2024, coming 2025. Jared, Coffee, what's your take on what you heard this morning?
Well, first, I'm going to change his name from Joe Shane, as you said, to Joe Sean, as in Shaun of the Dead. Okay? This man has got to be one of the most incapable general managers I've ever seen on this side of Dave Gettleman. If I had thought Dave Gettleman was already living in hell, now I'm in purgatory. Okay? Because there is no getting better with Joe Shane Sean. And there's no getting better with Brian Daboll. But really, this doesn't fall on them. This falls on John Mara and Steve Tissuebox, okay? Because that's what we're doing as Giant fans is crying. That's what we're doing as season ticket holders is uproaring. How do you allow a general manager who makes a fool of the franchise on national television, okay, with the HBO Hard Knocks series, by literally being upstaged by his own son, upstaged by his own assistants, okay, who then goes and makes the biggest boneheaded decision to set the franchise back again with this Daniel Jones debacle and fumble. That man alone, they don't need to be a tag team, him and Daboll, that one could keep a job. But in this scenario, Shaun of the Dead needs to go. That's for sure.
Okay, let's take a step back because I happen to agree with you on one thing. I believe it always starts as the top. Being someone who is a hard worker myself and have worked with a lot of executives, I always believe the ultimate decision on the way an organization is run and the way things go, it starts from the top, and that's the owner. Frankly, I agree with you. My biggest issue has been John Mara. I don't think I think most great business leaders, owners, etc., have done the job before or really were brought up in a business and understood the nooks and crannies of it. Mr. Mara, his father, Wellington, played football. His father grew up playing football. His father ran a team, bought a team through his hard work and effort. John was raised in the New York Giant football family, but I don't think John knows how to run a business. He's older in age now. I think he's lost a lot of touch. And what I've been saying, which I believe would help this organization, is making a move similar to what the San Francisco 49ers did and bringing in a guy like John Lynch. I've said, bring a guy in like Harry Carson, bring in a guy like Carl Banks, bring in a guy like Phil Simms, bring in a guy like Eli Manning and make them the president and CEO. Guys who've been successful outside football, who know a winning culture, a winning organization, and allow them to make business decisions.
For
I
sure, but you
think
don't. It
too
doesn't
many
have to be a New
times.
York Giant alumni. John Lynch isn't a 49er alum. He's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer alum. But it doesn't have to be a Giant alum, but it should definitely be somebody with a football IQ who's played the game, who knows what it takes to motivate players. Therefore, you choose the right coach, you choose the right environment, the right players to bring in. You know, the Giants would never be caught dead signing Deshaun Watson, simply not because of his numbers, simply because of his past allegations. Now, if that's the scenario, which is time and through what Giant football is about, just like Steeler football, like Boston Celtic basketball, like New York Yankee baseball, teams that are legacy teams. There are certain teams, right, in all sports that are legacy
Correct.
teams, foundational like country clubs, right? They're the class. You don't let your general manager make a fool of an entire franchise on Hard Knocks, which is what he did, where his own son said, hey, you're drafting for your job. Essentially,
Well,
his own.
you bring up a good point. You know, the ownership, the New York Giants, had the right to edit or not approve of things that went on to Hard Knocks. So it kind of gives you an idea of like really what's going on at, I forget the name of the address, in East Rutherford, New Jersey, at the training center,
Yeah,
Quest
one
Training
eight
Center.
hundred
Are they
dumb as
really
shit.
making correct decisions? Now, you are right. I am not a big believer. I can't stand what I hear. Well, if you hire the coach, you got to get the GM. If you're keeping the GM, you got to keep the coach. That shit goes out the door. I'm tired
Yeah,
of hearing that bullshit from too many
look,
reporters, too much social media. Let me just finish. Is that in order to have the right coach, you have to have the right GM. That's not how it works. When you go and work for a company, the president's already in place, the CEO or VP or whoever. You learn the ability of that job by learning the environment that is there, by learning the culture that is there. And you said something very interesting. You compared them to the Boston Celtics, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going back to the years of, I remember, and you were a young man and you still probably remember when I would laugh year in and year out. The Detroit Lions kept picking in the top five, and Chris Spielman was the general manager, and the Ford family was running that team. And every new year you knew they'd be shit. You know what? We've turned into the Detroit fucking Lions. I think I said Tigers. Detroit Lions of the 1990s, and we are a joke.
and
And I
I'm going
will
to
say
tell you,
this,
go ahead.
I don't know if it can be fixed.
It can, and I'm going to tell you
And
how. And
how
it goes
would now
along
so
your. It
that
goes with your John Lynch playbook.
okay.
Okay, it's a very interesting fix, right? It's a tale of two brothers. You make the general manager and part owner, because ownership needs to relinquish some, to Peyton Manning, the foundational godfather of football, the man who is an Encyclopedia Britannica, who has wit, but who also has the moxie and the demeanor that everybody follows, who knows how to draft the right players because he understands personalities. That's what I mean by his wit. He's willing to also not take himself so seriously. So let's give John Mara credit for one thing. John Mara gets no credit for any Super Bowls. Tom Coughlin was his father's hire. Okay, Tom Coughlin was considered, like I've said before, by Wellington Mara as a Vince Lombardi, Bill Parcells mixture, because Parcells was loose with the players, right? Like let LT do it whatever he wants, but Coughlin required the receivers to be there 5 minutes early, and they were the
Which
most.
if that was a question for you to be on this podcast, you'd be fired already for being 5 minutes late.
Well, that's the difference between being an ownership, right? Obviously. So here, the reality is he had them in a strict way that Wellington saw the talent in him and said, this is the guy, right? Ernie, of course, he didn't make that hire. Jerry Reese didn't make that hire. The rest of them are lineally, the general manager got passed down from general managers like a tree of guys that worked under a Wellington Mara ownership, right?
Well, you
So
got a
with that,
good point there. Wait, hold on one second, because you said something good. Ernie Accorsi's a
I
Wellington
say a lot
Mara
of
guy.
shit good. And you know what else is good, Johnny? This blunt right here.
Good. And Wellington Mara hired Ernie Accorsi. And Ernie Accorsi, people like to give Jerry Reese a lot of credit. He was there 10 years. I understand that. Jerry Reese was a good drafter. Jerry Reese was terrible when it came to free agents. But I will say this. The year the Giants won the
Right? He
Super
still won two
Bowl,
Super Bowls.
well, the year the Giants won the Super Bowl, the first one in the 2000s, Ernie Accorsi just retired that year and Jerry Reese took over. So I give Jerry Reese no credit. The
I give some
second
because
one,
he made the personnel decisions prior to that. So that is
correct.
still his that is still a Corsi Reese connected Trust.
And you said something, and Tom Coughlin was still there, who breathed Giants and understood
Right.
the old school mentality. Now, however, your friend Mr. Mara, he did go with a Giant legacy, a guy named Dave Gettleman, who by far
Is
may
the
have
worst.
been
The
the
worst.
worst general
How do
manager
you not
hired.
vet a guy who Carolina Panther players simply said, I don't want to play for him? How is he not vetted? Why is he just given the keys? Because here's the thing. When I told you I'm going to give John Mara credit for one thing, right? In the second go around with Coughlin, he was losing the team. Okay. Strahan and Tiki, who don't even like each other, agreed on one thing. We don't like Coughlin. And Mara went to Coughlin and said, you need to loosen up. You need to show them how you're like you are with your family. And Charles Way was the player personnel leader
Correct.
for the Giants who spoke on Giant. And he said, Coach, I know like you love me, but like no one else has seen you in this manner. You know, like you got to like show them how you are with your grandkids. So Coughlin canceled practice one day and he took him to play. He went bowling that year. They beat the 18 nothing to the fucking Patriots faces. Right. Okay. So that showed that at least Mara knew to tinker a little bit with a tough coach. But that's only because Mara's unserious in his life, which is exactly why he's a horrible owner, which is exactly why he's letting guys like Gettleman come without really being vetted, which is why he's letting trash bags named Bob McAdoo literally look like garbage on the sidelines and in the playbook. Okay. He thinks, oh, the Buffalo Bills are so good. Let me go take all the products of the Buffalo Bills. No, the product is the coach. Just like Dan Campbell's the coach in Detroit. A coach can change an entire organization. So can a quarterback, right?
Right.
Josh Allen's going to be good for anybody that really walks in because Josh Allen is a godsend. You know, even though I think he's a choke artist to an extent, and we'll see this year. But the reality is I don't feel that John Mara understands what it takes to hire the right general manager or the right coach,
So
and
let's
certainly
let's
he's
go let's talk about that, because 3 years ago, Brian Dable and Joe Shane were highly touted GM and coach. There were a lot of teams that were after both of them. And to Mara's credit, he was going the same direction he had been going the years before, old Giants bringing them in. Now, I will say this. I would have been okay if they cleaned house. I actually think they should have. Now, my biggest concern right now of having Dable and Shane back is they're going to sell the house here. I mean, they know they need a quarterback. The owner has gone on record now of saying we need a quarterback. The owner has also gone on record saying the defense has been horrible. The owner also said, I've lost my patience, meaning we have to win now. We are the third pick, so I'm going to segue there now. Let's talk about where we are in the draft. We are the third pick. You now have an owner who has now put the pressure on. It's a win or lose season. If you don't win this year, you're gone. Now, if I am in a sales position for a company and I know I have to sell and I don't sell, I know I'm going to get fired. So I'm going to do everything in my will to make sure we're successful. Now, you can hope that Shane may not sell the house here and get us in what I want to call perpetual nightmare of being losers for the next 10 years, because we give up all these first round picks. We give up all these draft picks to go get Sanders or go get Ward, who frankly, let's be honest, Jared, in last year's draft wouldn't even been in the top 5 of those guys who went.
which is why he had to go back to college to prove it, and he did, but still is not a proven commodity.
Again,
it's only
right.
1 year.
Right. Ward, I kind of feel a little more safe with. I've said this to a local family member, AJ Straight Shooter Shaw, that Ward has played 4 years of college football, and he has a ton of experience. And I see the success of a lot of NFL quarterbacks now. And Bo Nix is one, Michael Penix is another, Jaden Daniels is another, who played multiple years in college and started. Now, that's the case. If you are Joe Shane, let's try to keep it short. What do you do in this year's free agency draft?
Well, I can't fully go short without going in reverse, only because when you say a name, it boils at me. Like, I almost wanted to give up being a Giant fan when we passed on Micah Parsons, because it's like, that's Giant fucking football right there. Micah Parsons is an LT clone. That's Giant football, right? And then when you're passing on the guy that feels like that's Giant football, you no longer feel like you can call your team a certain name to your team. The Ravens could say this is Raven football. They've now been the hardball-led Ravens for long enough that there's a style that team plays in, right? Last year, we had the golden opportunity to draft a guy with an arm that's so laser, you haven't really seen it since fucking Vic. And that is Michael Penix.
I agree 100%.
And they went to Michael Penix's combine and they were impressed out of their minds. Now, given they wanted to go up to get Drew, to get May. And while I didn't like that, he looks like the right player. May's going to be a great player. Okay. But that didn't mean discard Penix or his injuries from the past, right? Because Neighbors is very special, but who cares about 109 catches if it only leads to 3 wins, right? Quarterback position is going to get you a lot damn closer to 7 to 9 wins than it is any receiver, right? And a receiver is also can be replaced way easier than a quarterback can be replaced.
But your GM had faith in a guy named Daniel Jones, who's going to be a lifelong backup.
No, it wasn't. My point is, he didn't fumble the bag once. Signing Daniel Jones and Saquon walking. It's a double fumble because it didn't allow you to draft Penix, who, all credit to fucking Atlanta, was smart enough to say, you know what? Even though we're about to give all this Arthur Blank money, which is almost like a penny to Arthur Blank, thank God, right? To Kirk Cousins, I'm coming in as the coach. I'm Raheem, and I'm like, yo, all right, great. But I don't trust this motherfucker off an injury. I need to get someone else. So I'm going to draft Penix because Penix is going to be better than anything else in there. And look what happens, right? Yeah. Penix comes in, he almost saves the day. It's not really necessarily any of his fault.
Well, he only had 3 games potentially save the season.
And when they lost in overtime, they already knew that they lost the playoff. And it was a little bit dejecting. But given he was throwing some fucking rockets out there.
We get where you're going. So get to the point, son.
There. So Sean cannot be trusted. Now, with that said, I'm going to give you 2 scenarios. I'm going to give you the Joe Shawn of the dead scenario and then the Jared Shaw scenario, okay? The Joe Shawn of the dead scenario is you either entice Tennessee to come down to 3, knowing Tennessee probably is going to be more than happy with Hunter. You know Cleveland's taking a quarterback. There's not a doubt in their mind. They'll take whichever of the 2 quarterbacks is there. They've proven that they're willing to play African-American quarterbacks. There is no issue there with either quarterback or the color of their skin. That is 100% a shoo-in, okay? The first team, Tennessee, they're done with Levitt. But you know what? Mason Rudolph, he can win some games. If you let him play, he can kind of win some games. Now you're Brian Callahan. You're like, shit, I almost lost my job this year. I can't go take a fucking rookie quarterback. I won't have a job to see this rookie quarterback mature. My best chance is to shore up our defense, which was already a top 5 defense. They were very quiet. They're not a fantasy defense for all you fantasy players out there. I'm one of them. But the truth is, the Titans have a very, very good pass defense already, which could only become even greater, right? With Hunter back there. And they can play Hunter in the slot on the offense. It makes a lot of sense. So the Giants could go give a deal so that they can move up. And then they have the tough decision of taking Shador, who's the lights and glamour, or Cam, who seems to have a little bit more of the demeanor as a team leader, to take. I prefer Cam, okay?
I do too.
If Sean doesn't do that, and Tennessee takes both the quarterbacks, of course, we're going to take Hunter, and I actually think Hunter would be a great addition, okay? But now, forget Sean, because he's going to fucking fumble anyway. Here's the Jared Shaw playbook. We don't move. We only move if we think Hunter's coming off the board. The Giants draft should be built around Travis the Heisman Hunter, who is one of the most well-spoken, good-spirited type of human beings you want to be around. Forget play next to, which means he's going to make everybody around him jovial. He's going to make everybody love him and play with him. But he's also going to create what I love to call the Bermuda Triangle, right? The Bermuda Triangle is something where you got 2 good linebackers or a great defensive end and a great linebacker, and you've got a shutdown corner. Or you have the biggest, fattest interior player in the entire NFL, like Dexter Lawrence, clogging up an entire line middle to force the pass, where now you've basically pushed the pass all to one side because Hunter's a shutdown, right? Okay. Hunter could also play a little bit of offense. Why do I want Hunter? because the best quarterback in this draft is Jackson Dart.
Yes,
And
I agree.
that's who belongs as a New York Giant in the second round. And if you trade, you most likely won't be able to keep your second round pick because the need for the two quarterbacks with the amount of teams that need quarterbacks is probably going to be a little bit high. And I just feel that Jackson Dart gives you the ability also to go get a bridge quarterback and start him if you're not ready. Whereas right now, we're already calling for the heads of our general manager and our head coach. Of course, as fans, we're going to say start the fucking first round pick, right? We're not going to say don't start him because we already don't believe in our team.
So let me get a little 2 cents there, and thank you for
Get
that.
10 cents in.
Yeah, thanks for that 5-minute rant on who should be the draft pick of the New York Giants. I'm going to give you my.
You can't say you disagree.
No, I'm going to agree and disagree with you on some parts. My feeling is this: is I go back to value and I go to need and I go to drafting the best player available. Travis Hunter is a player that we probably haven't seen in the NFL in a very, very long time. I'm not going to compare him to Bo Jackson because Bo was just an incredible athlete. Deion Sanders, I believe, could have played wide receiver if he wanted to, but he was really an unbelievable, and people forget this, probably the best punt returner, kickoff returner to ever play the game. So he was ability to help you on special teams as well as defense.
Facts.
So that Travis Hunter's not the best corner.
But Johnny, don't disinclude Charles Woodson and Champ Bailey because they are two guys who showed that there's a capability to do it.
Yes. So Travis Hunter, and look, Charles Woodson's a Hall of Famer, right? Okay. Deion Sanders is a Hall of Famer. So you have an opportunity to possibly draft a Hall of Famer player. Now, Shane has gone on record this morning on his press conference saying he's not going to basically put us in jeopardy to get the quarterback. Now, do I trust him? I want to. I don't. I have a really big problem with the way he has drafted. You mentioned earlier on your Coffee and Chronic Instagram page about Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, Banks, all of his, and you're right, Neighbors was if you look at, listen, if you weren't going to miss with him. Every scout said how great he was. If I'm the Giants, though, and I don't trade up, I don't think these two guys are worth draft stock. Okay. Now, if one of them falls to me, great. Now, if I'm the New York Giants and Travis Hunter now is at my thing, and there's a team, I'm not saying who, like the Raiders or someone, they want to take that third and we come back to 6, 7, or 8. I'm okay with that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because then at this point, you could also trade up in the late first round if you want to get a quarterback that might not be those two guys. Like, let's be frank with each other.
All right, first tell me who you're drafting when you
Carson
take that trade.
Beck. Right, Carson Beck.
Who are you drafting at 8?
Right. So if I am there and I'm at 3 and I don't have a choice, I love the nose tackle from Michigan. I think he is a playmaker. I think Giants have not done well against the run in so many years. They've been almost ranked. They were ranked 31st the year before. I think they'll be ranked last again. You put him and Dexter Lawrence together, you're not going to run the ball against us. I also, the kid from Penn State, it's going to be hard to pass on him.
The tight end?
No. The tight end's amazing. The linebacker. He could be another game breaker. Kayvon Thibodeau, unfortunately, nothing. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit about why I have concerns about Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen has let way too many players walk. He admitted he was not going to sign Saquon Barkley. Why the fuck did you not trade him last year then? If you knew that, you could have gotten a third-round pick. Olajari's gone. You're getting nothing for him. Slayton, gone. You're getting nothing for him. McKinney, gone. You're getting nothing for him. And stop it like you were going to save the season. There was no way we were saving the season last year. There's no way we were going to save the season this year. You could have gotten more draft stock, meaning if you wanted to trade back up earlier in the first round, you could have done so. So my ability in the belief that he knows what he's doing, I don't agree. Yes, he hit some good players this year in Drew Phillips. The Nubin, it's going to be a very good, I really believe he's going to be an excellent safety, maybe a Pro Bowler. I think Johnson, when he comes back healthy, could be an excellent tight end if he can get his hands going correctly. I really think I love the running back. I mean, I for a guy who's only played it 2 years, again, home run. First 2 years draft, terrible. Now I'm going to go about the coach. My concern with this coach is I think he's a likable guy.
Hold on. Before you go there, because we haven't discussed the coach, let me just throw a couple counter jabs at you. Okay?
Go ahead. Ask me some questions.
Number one, I think that your idea of the draft is awful. Okay? Awful. That would set us back, because Travis Hunter is a game-changing defensive player or just all-around athlete. And if you miss on him and he hits, that's colossal. And there's not another player in this draft.
Jared, Travis Hunter's not going to win you games. He's going to help you. He's not.
No, I disagree. Charles Woodson won them games. I disagree there. And Travis Hunter is going to play offense. He plays third down specialist, but he's going to play offense.
Who's throwing him the ball?
Just look. So you're talking about Abdul Carter, first of all. I'm pulling it up right now, just a little mock draft here, right? Around the time that Jonathan would have said, it would have been between Abdul Carter and Mikael Williams from Georgia, okay? But I don't feel that either of them are Micah Parsons' mystique, right?
I mean, now, I believe they're saying that Abdul Carter has all the tools that Micah Parsons had in college. I mean, I've watched him. Jared, he's fast.
He doesn't have a LeVar Arrington highlight reel.
Let me ask you a question. If he has let me say this to you. Kayvon Thibodeau, if they draft a guy like Carter, you're probably going to either trade him or do something, or I hope he won't start. But if you
that's a whole other issue,
right? If you had Burns and Abdul Carter can give you 10 sacks a year, how the fuck are you going to throw the ball?
Yeah, but you could.
Jared, didn't the Giants' success start with the line?
There's a free agent.
But didn't the Giants' success?
There's a free agent that could do that for you. Because we started this by asking about drafting free agency, right? So just a quick counter to that counter is Khalil Mack will hit the market. Okay? So you could take the veteran right there and get your 10 sacks.
Jared,
However,
do you think Mason Graham will not be an unbelievable player in the NFL?
You want me to tell you how you shore up the run? Not by drafting a interior lineman, by shutting down the receivers. If you lock down the receivers, the quarterback can't throw. If you lock down the receivers, that split extra second is going to get a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau who still has potential, okay? It's going to get him the time.
I'm going to say it again. And I agree with the owner on one thing. We have not played good defense. We have not stopped the run in so long.
But your thing was about passing on Hunter. And I think that's a grave mistake. That's all I'm saying about that.
Okay.
That's one. The other thing was about Shaun of the Dead, who, I could spend 20 hours just cracking. I want to go to his house and have dinner with him just to crack on him, because I've never seen a more inept executive than this young guy. And
that's not true. I'll give him one credit. He got us out of salary cap hell. And now we have $68 million in free agency.
Because of the hog mollies from Gettleman's era.
Yeah, you got to give him credit. Hey, you got to give him credit there. He actually put us in a better place financially.
So he's a good financial planner. I'll go to him when I'm thinking about dying. Okay. Here's the reality. Okay. The reality is, yes, he did have a good draft this year. You named a lot of good players that have a lot of potential, but nobody is magnifying the fumble of the bag that I discussed about Penix, because there was an option other than Neighbors. Yes, Neighbors is an easy go. My mom would have picked her.
He passed on J.J. McCarthy, who they seem to.
I would pass on J.J. McCarthy too. Penix is way better than J.J. McCarthy.
Would you trade a third-round pick for J.J. McCarthy?
I don't think Minnesota will trade a third-round pick.
A second?
No. If you want me to touch on that, here's what I really believe. Sam Darnold has to go to the NFC Championship to hold on to his job in Minnesota and get the contract that he deservingly should get.
And what do you think that contract would be?
He's going to see at least 35, 40.
So if he gets them to the NFC Championship, he'll get $35 million.
I think if he goes,
how many years? 3 years? 2 years?
3. I think it's 3 years. And I think then you have JJ a little, coming back from injury. Then you discard Daniel Jones, right? There's another option just for them, which is you let Darnold walk. You sign Jones to a prove-it deal, right, for 1 year. Maybe O'Connell thinks Maybe O'Connell thinks he could whisper in them. But my real dark horse there is you're going to see the return of Kirk Cousins, who doesn't need money anymore, but probably would love to end his career on a high note in the city that he really is beloved. And I could see Kirk Cousins going back for a year to take over Minnesota.
You're out of your fucking mind.
Why?
No way. No way. I will tell you, first of all, it's already been reported. Sit back and relax. First of all, it's already been reported that Atlanta's not going to just let him go. However, I don't believe that, because I will say this. Besides the money he gets, I don't know if you know this, he gets a $10 million bonus as well.
Nobody's gonna, they're gonna have to kick the curbs on him.
Right.
Of course so I'm saying, and you're Kirk Cousins now, you've cashed $100 million. Money's not the object anymore, but you kind of want to go out on a high note.
Jared,
and then O'Connell's a whisper.
Coffee.
I think
you're
going to eat your words.
Listen to long balls. Listen to long balls. Coffee. Here's the problem. He's under contract. Number one.
Number two, telling you a philosophy of an idea of a guy. It's not a guarantee.
Number two is whoever he gets traded to, they have to work a deal. Atlanta and say the New York Giants. Say the Giants trade for Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
He's getting 50.
That's assuming someone wants to trade for him.
He gets $55 million, I think, next year. I think it's 55 million.
Yeah, I think they're just going to cut him into dead money, Jonathan.
Okay, so if they cut him to dead money, you're right. He'll take a $2 million, a Russell Wilson deal. If I'm the Giants, I take that. You're right. I'm
not saying the Giants are going to do it. What I'm telling you is that Minnesota is going to do that.
No, you're out of your fucking mind.
No, they're going to let. If they don't go to the NFC Championship, they'll have an option. It's re-sign Daniel Jones on a prove-it deal, right, and let McCarthy heal, or bring back Kirk Ice for 1 year, right, while McCarthy heals, and it's also a very good mentor. It makes a lot of sense. Fuck Minnesota, though, because we're talking about the New York trash bags, all right? So back to our boys, the bags, right? And why Shaun of the Dead is just awful. No, we're not going to go after Darnold, but here's the unfortunate thing. These idiots would go after Darnold. Why wouldn't we go after Darnold? Because playing in the New York media is a whole other monster, and Sammy Boy has now excelled getting out of here and going to Carolina, San Francisco, Minnesota.
He didn't really excel at Carolina. He didn't excel at San Francisco.
Oh, I disagree. You know why I bought all his rookie cards 3 years ago? Because I saw in Carolina that I thought I saw a player that was playing a lot better than he was playing in the Jets.
He was.
And then using the higher on him.
Jared, using the word excel mean he would have been re-signed and been the starter. He did play better.
Excel in my mind.
Okay, he did play better. Given, I will say this: he's better off in a small market. Anyone who plays for the New York fucking shitbag Jets is going to have a bad year anyway, because that organization, I would take a dump on.
I think getting the bag from the Raiders, to be honest with you.
So if I'm the Giants, I probably don't go for Sam Darnold. I also give the coach a ton of credit there in Minnesota. Yeah, Brian Daboll. Now let's talk about Daboll.
Oh,
I think a mistake Daboll has done is Brian Daboll thought his shit don't stink as an offensive coordinator. He shit on Mike Kafka, and he put Mike Kafka, he made him like a redheaded stepchild. He took away the play calling from him, and you know what? We got worse, actually. I am one on the record to say I wanted him to play the calls because, like most of us, I believed he was an offensive genius. He's not a fucking offensive genius. He's proven that. I do think he's probably a good leader. He's held the locker room together. I believe these players have played for him, even though they've been shit. Nobody's gone in the media and talked smack about him in 3 years, really. He's not had many issues. He's got some personalities in that locker room. You said something, though, that is really missing. There's no leadership in the New York Football Giant locker room. Saquon is gone. I don't see anybody. Maybe Travis Hunter will be that person someday. Maybe Nick Leak will be that day. Xavier McKinney was that guy. Now,
why you gotta hit me with the fucking Shaun, you motherfucker? All we do is cut Pro Bowl players.
Right. So I think, in my opinion, I think the owner and the GM need to go and bring him in and say, listen, Mr. Daboll, Mr. I'm on Ozempic.
Can we just add that James Bradbury, when he was cut, would turn into a Super Bowl MVP, like almost basically MVP too?
And I've lost 100 pounds. You're not calling the offensive plays anymore. You're going to be the coach. And that's all we want you to be, is a head fucking coach. I'd also hope that Vrabel does take our defensive coordinator and brings him back when they work together at the Tennessee Titans, wherever he goes. Because This system this guy put in, I haven't seen any players improve. I'll give you examples. Ready? Bobby Okereke had a great year the prior year, down year. Banks had a really good year the prior year, down year. Kayvon Thibodeau had a better year last year, down year. Okay? The only guy who's probably improved is Micah McFadden. He's had a very good year. Okay? But I can't. Dexter Lawrence continues to be an all-star, always will be. He's a Hall of Famer. So if I'm the New York Giants and I'm the owner and I'm the GM, I had that conversation with him. I do think next year we now have the hardest schedule based on records for next year. We are the worst team record-wise, but we're playing the toughest schedule next year. So what does this mean? I don't believe the Giants win more than 5 games next year. I do believe that I would try to get a veteran quarterback like a Geno Smith, like a Russell Wilson, like a Kirk Cousins for a 2-year deal, and maybe have an out in the second year. I wouldn't bring Sam Darnold here as much as I like him. I think he's a product of a great coach and great talent around him, which the Giants do not have at this point. I do believe in drafting and taking a risk in the second round on a Ewers or on a Carson Beck, but not this second pick in the second round, maybe going back and doing that. If you can't get Cam Ward, I will not, and I will say this now. Sanders did not beat a winning team, a top 25 team in college football in his college tenure. I'm only saying that. Remember that. He did not beat a top 25 team. That tells you a lot. Cam Ward has. I've watched this young man play. He does need time, but he's got a rocket of an arm. He gets the guys the ball quickly. He makes quick decisions. He reads a field. He is my guy. So going back to the draft, I would trade up for him if it means you're not going to lose too much draft stock. Meaning
that's better than 20 minutes ago. You weren't trading up.
No, I mean it in this way.
I like this new decision.
It's the Rivers Eli Manning situation where they could draft him. We take him. They take Travis Hunter, and then we work out the economics and the picks later on, which could be worked out. And for our first episode, I have to tell you, we've talked quite a bit. I think you and I both agree, Coffee and Chronic, that at this point, right now, the Giants are a lost ship. They're going nowhere. They seem to have an owner whose head's in the clouds, whose kid works there. He's not gotten it. You can't. He should have said, I should fire myself as president and CEO because I've done a disjustice to these fucking fans who live and die for this team. For 12 fucking years, 2 years we've made the playoffs. How dare you make the two elite franchises? It's the Giants and the Yankees. Thank God we'll always have the Yankees. But the Giants are shit. We are a laughing stock. If I were a player right now, you think I want to come to New York and pay our taxes, pay the fucking high-end housing that it costs here, deal with the traffic, the shit fucking weather we have in the winter, for fucking what? To play for the Giants, who are the toilet bowl of the league right now? Fuck no. Hell no. So something's got to change. And with that, I'm going to end it with this.
You're not going to end it because I'm stealing the baton like it's a fucking 4x4 relay.
You ain't going to steal because I got to end it one way or the other.
We can't talk about Brian Daboll without hearing from Mr. Chronic over here, because let me tell you something, Jonathan. Maybe the Brian Daboll that you thought you were getting was real, but the thing is he lost half of himself with Ozempic or Mounjaro or whatever the fuck he's done to get svelte. Most coaches get stressed the fuck out from doing a good job and get fatter. This guy got skinnier, and with it went all the wins. The wins get skinnier. So Brian Daboll is not an offensive genius. Once again, you are around Josh Allen. He is a specimen, okay? He's so big, Josh. No one understands the athlete that Josh Allen is a one of one. So when you guys,
he thought he could make Daniel Jones because he's a big specimen too.
Yeah, but no, my point is it was a special quarterback. That's the quarterback position, when it's played correctly, is the defining position in the Super Bowl, if you're going to win it or not. That's shown by Tom Brady. That is shown by Peyton Manning, John Elway. Goes back and forth and back and back and back. Great quarterback play will take you all the way. Okay. And in this scenario, Josh Allen is good enough to make a playoff contender perennial. And therefore, it looks like this guy's done a good job. He hasn't done a good job. He can't call offensive plays. And guess what? He gets along with no one. Wink Martindale, who's a guy that I would,
Jared,
who's the
fuck
guy
Wink.
that you would have a
Wink.
beer.
Well,
Whether
no, you
think
probably
he's
like him. He's an alcoholic, an idiot.
So I'm saying he probably loves to listen to
Jared,
and drink
coffee.
whiskey and smoke a blunt with all coffee.
You got no chance.
Johnny, this is coffee's moment. So when you can't get along with a chill dude like Wink, who's a defensive specialist, and then you can't get along, right, with Kafka, who you basically sandbagged, who had opportunities last year for interviews. He'll get no interviews this year. He'll lucky he has a job anymore.
Chicago.
What?
He's interviewing with Chicago.
Okay, well, Chicago's also, don't get me started on the Bears. They may be on their way to being the Giants, okay? But you got a guy who maybe isn't getting along with his contemporaries. Forget his athletes, his contemporaries. He can't get along with anybody. You can't, the system doesn't work if there's no cohesiveness in the actual faculty. Then the students run around and think that they're the fucking guidance counselors. You know what I'm saying? And then the tooth fairy doesn't come knocked up. You've seen it 100 times. Don't take a fucking butcher's head for it. Stick your head up the bull's ass. Tommy Boy will tell you. Well, Joe Shaw needs to get his head out of his own ass. Dabble needs to get his head out of the fucking food bowl, okay, or the Ozempic fucking needle. And they need to get back to playing football, giant football. Here's an answer for you to finish it on free agency. There's a bridge quarterback that I do really, really like. I think he showed his mettle in destroying my Survivor dreams, where of course I won the Survivor. I'm a 2-time Survivor champion. I'm also a back-to-back Survivor champion, both Survivors this year. Little tap on my own shoulders. But it would have been a solo finish if the Redskins don't fucking pull off magic in the end. And it harpoons me, because that would have been like $25K instead of just all my payments. But also it would have been my $250 parlay rolling in for $5K for the day. Forget Coffee's money bags, okay? The point is Marcus Mariota.
You're fucking nuts.
Marcus Mariota is a good bridge quarterback. That is a bridge quarterback. When we know what I define as a bridge quarterback, guy, can you win me 2 or 3 out of the first 5 games? Then I'm probably going to hand it over to my new stud. But can you win me 2 to 3 out of 5 games? Marcus Mariota can do that. He can do that.
You could have a guy like Tommy DeVito do that, honestly.
No.
Yeah.
Don't ever put them in the same category, Jonathan.
There's a
huge difference.
I'm saying
Mariota's not going to cost you anything. Why? Because I didn't finish my plan here. Because my plan is very simple in free agency. It has been this way for 2 years. It revolves around one guy. Motherfucking Higgins. Do anything and everything you need to do to get T. Higgins on the team, who will make it much easier on any quarterback, who will make it easier on Malik Neighbors, okay? And T. Higgins wins games. He made Joe Burrow look even better. Joe Burrow's the best. But Joe Burrow, without T. Higgins, doesn't have that guaranteed number.
Okay,
Who you going to on third and long?
We gotta end this podcast. But I have to tell you, I don't see why T. Higgins would want to come to the New York fucking Giants with no quarterback.
Money, Johnny. Money.
I got you. Money it is. So
show me the money. Hey, Jerry, say it with me.
Show me the money.
Yo, brother TP, say hi to Mr. McGuire. Yo, what up, Jerry? We need no toilet paper here. Brother TP ain't got no toilet paper, Jerry. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Have a good night. Sayonara. All right.